You're listening to How to 20-something, the only podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to be focusing on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life and what to do about it. I'm your host, Jess Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Jess Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off, and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20-something. Welcome back to another episode of How to 20-something, where today I want to talk to you guys about the role social media plays in your life. I think within the last year or so, people have been slowly detaching themselves from social media. I know I personally deactivated my personal Instagram account and only have a business one. I have had clients completely delete TikTok. It's considered a green flag now for someone to no longer have Snapchat or to barely post on Instagram. And I think this shift is great. We all grew up with social media starting in middle school, if not before that, and no one really knew about the potential downfalls it would have on our young minds, or its addictive qualities, or the ability to make us low-key FBI agents when trying to find out information about someone we don't know. At first, it was a way to stay in touch with people. It was a new way to share moments of your life with others around the world or connect with people not in your immediate area. And somewhere along the way, it lost that effect and became more detrimental than beneficial. But you guys know me by now, and I'm not going to sit here and shit on social media for the next however long. So let's get into all the positives social media brings, all the negatives, how your relationship to it impacts your quality of life, and what you can begin doing to have a more balanced relationship with it moving forward. For starters, let's break down the main different types of social media and their design purposes. There's networking ones like LinkedIn, ones for microblogging where you can't write a lot in one post, so it's short form information, like Twitter, which is now X, which I think it'll be referred to as Twitter because what kind of name is X? I digress. The ones that have become the most popular over the last 10 years use photo, video, or other visual content to share information, such as Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and even Pinterest. There's discussion forums where you can ask and answer questions, like on Reddit. I think Facebook encompasses all of these uses I just mentioned with long and short form posts, groups where you can ask questions, pictures, videos, going live and connecting with others, or for me personally, it was my first social media account. And then there are also less common ones for multiple different uses like collaborating. If your work uses Teams or Slack, that is considered social media. There are messaging apps in general, social shopping platforms like Etsy and Poshmark, and social review sites. You're probably familiar with Yelp or Rotten Tomatoes. And these aren't even all the ones that exist out there, but as you can see, social media is everywhere in some form, which is scary when you think about it. Like, there is no privacy anymore. Every time you create an account somewhere, you are willingly giving out your information to the world, even if you are completely on private. And they say what you post online will never, ever, ever go away. Social media used to be a way for you to connect with people you know and regularly share updates about your life with by posting something online instead of picking up the phone and calling them or sharing in person. It was designed to enhance life, make it easier, reinforce already established relationships, and while yes, it does still do that, it has also transformed the way people make money by being influencers, or how brands and artists can take off and become lucrative, or how to meet a stranger online. It's fascinating when you think about how humans and technology have advanced over the last 10 to 15 years and transformed the space of digital media, some for the better and some for the worse. But let's get into how social media influences your life, starting with the negatives, so we can end on a more positive note. I think the biggest, most common threat that social media poses on a young mind is distortion and comparison. What you see on the internet is a distorted reality of someone else's life because they are only going to post and share about the pieces of them that they want you to see. Your brain registers that as the whole story, when 99.9% of the time, that is not the case. Or if your brain isn't taking the picture you see as the full story, it'll naturally fill in the pieces to create a whole story. And most of the time, that story that your brain has created is going to make you feel worse about yourself. The real reason as to why I deactivated my personal Instagram account, and it was actually my therapist who told me I needed to, was because I would see people my own age or even in my city having fun with friends in large groups. And because I didn't have a large group of friends of my own, I would feel really bad about myself. Like something was wrong with me, or no one liked me, no one remembered me, I was boring. These were all stories I was telling myself. So that's why I wasn't getting invited to join these groups of people, whether I actually wanted to join in or not. For example, on St. Patrick's Day this year, I remember seeing a group of girls that I was friendly with all hanging out together and doing a bar crawl, and I didn't receive an invite. I don't even like bar crawls, yet here I was with FOMO and with feeling left out, not even fear of missing out, but the feeling of being left out because they all came together and my invitation got lost in the mail. Even though I ended up having a really nice day with my best friend and we bounced around on our own accord, didn't go to crowded bars or get super drunk, I still couldn't release the sadness I felt from being left out by the other girls. So at first I started with muting everyone's stories that would provoke these feelings, and then my therapist told me to completely deactivate that account altogether. And fast forward to today, a few months later, I still don't have a large friend group, but because I'm not constantly seeing it online anymore, I am able to shift my relationship to thinking that I need one to be normal, when in reality, I don't need one. I realize I actually enjoy small groups, if not one-on-one moments, because of the quality of the conversations that occurs and the depth of the relationship that gets built. But social media distorted my view and my own likes because of the information I was constantly and accidentally feeding my brain. And I want you to think of social media as information. Not necessarily right information, but information nonetheless. What you see is what you think. So another example would be if your feed is flooded with couples all getting engaged or married or living their happy lives, and you're at home spending another night all alone with no one even on your roster, you're going to naturally think something is wrong with you, that you're not desirable, that no one else is single, no one else feels alone, and everyone in the world is happily in love. When in reality, that's not true. And feel free to replace relationships with career advancements, trips, buying a house, bodies, and so on and so forth. We all have a tendency to compare ourselves to someone else in an area of our life that we don't feel very secure in, and that comparison only makes you feel worse about yourself. What you're seeing online is creating this distorted image of what everyone else is doing, and therefore what you're lacking or failing in. These unrealistic comparisons lower your self-esteem and self-confidence and make you feel even more isolated, because being in your 20s is already a lonely enough journey, and you're only making it worse by feeding your brain images of other people's lives that you long for yourself, or even a life that you don't want for yourself, but you figure if someone else your age is living this life, then something might be wrong with you for not wanting the same or having the same thing. And you're probably guilty of this type of flaunting too, whether you even realize it or not, where you're only going to post something that paints you in a positive light, or similarly, increase the pressure on yourself to maintain a certain image online. I know I only post things where I have my shit together, or I'll post something that's more quote-unquote relatable after I've overcome that challenge, not while I'm still going through it, but it's also my brand and reputation. I know I get afraid to admit to a downfall or a struggle I'm currently working through, because why would someone want to hire a life coach whose life is falling apart in a certain area? when in reality, life is not always going to be this steady stream of happiness and awesomeness, and shit is going to hit the fan, and when it does, I am allowed to have my own human experience around it, and so are you. That doesn't mean you need to go posting it on social media of, hey, I'm struggling beyond belief right now, and this is my human experience, but you can cope with seeking out actual help and resources. And my own problems do not influence the way I show up and help my clients either. I know I have the tools and skills to help my clients with what they're working through, and it's also why I have my own coach and therapist who are equipped to help me. I've said this on several episodes now, but you need your support system outside of your best friend, although that relationship is important too. Speaking of which, another downfall of social media is the decrease in face-to-face interactions, which then leads to a decrease in social skills and a decrease in personal relationships. I think the pandemic really heightened how important it is for us humans to have regular interactions with one another and not be cut off from society. And yet we still choose to sit and scroll than go out and experience life. I personally feel like my social life and social skills have declined rapidly since 2020, and I was in my 20s and already adulting when the whole world shut down. I know findings have come out now with how damaging the face mask and social isolation was for kids and the elderly, but honestly, I think it damaged all of our brains in some way. We're not meant to be alone, but social media invites you to stay home and connect with people online, which is not the same thing, not even in the slightest. When you're primarily connecting with others virtually, you are weakening your ability to establish healthy and personal relationships. Your communication skills decline, and your ability to read other people's facial expressions and body language weakens. Think of your social skills as a muscle. When you don't use it, you lose it. It weakens. It gets worse. Also, because you can't read the tone of voice, the body language, or the facial expressions, it is so easy for you to misinterpret what is being said, or vice versa, for someone else to misinterpret what you're saying, thereby creating unnecessary fractures in your relationships. Basically, the more you connect online, the more isolated and lonely you're going to make yourself feel. There was a study done about how important human contact is for general mental health. And it said receiving 4 hugs a day was enough of an antidote for depression. It reduces your chances of getting sick, lowers your blood pressure and stress levels, and releases happy cuddle chemicals in your brain. So you need 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs for maintenance, and 12 hugs for growth. I don't know about you, but I'm lucky to just get 1 hug a day. Like a full, frontal, long, amazing hug. Not one of those wimpy-ass side hugs. I also know I'm not the only one who lacks hugs in a day, because as a society, we are touch deprived, and social media only makes that lack of human contact so much worse. But it's addicting, and that's another one of its pitfalls. Social media is a continuous stream of information and entertainment in the form of short-term content and gratification. And because of this, our attention spans or ability to focus on one task at a time has drastically decreased. And not to mention, our tolerance for delayed gratification is drastically reduced, as now we want everything this instant. TikTok is probably the most guilty of this, because you can find entertainment across different topics in 60 seconds or less. And if a video is too long or slow, you can speed it up or skip it altogether or skip ahead to the point of the topic. The bite-sized content on repeat leads to a reduction in tolerance for longer, more in-depth content, so now movies or reading become intolerable because of how slow it is. It's like we all developed ADHD within the last 5 years of our lives and are like, whoa, has this always been here? And the truth is, probably not. Maybe for some of you, but certainly not for all of us. I mean, I know for me it is, which this is my ADHD brain talking of I can look back at my childhood and be like, wow, how did no one notice this? Anyways, we're also easily distracted with notifications or with quick little openings of the apps to check something and then close it out. Or letting the number of likes you receive determine your value as a person. I was so happy when Instagram let you hide the likes. I don't do that anymore. I did it on my personal account because I wanted to post a picture and I didn't want the likes to mess with my head anymore because I did determine it with my value, with my self-worth. My business account, I'm so detached from that I'm like, I'm providing this information and this value itself that if people want to like it, they want to like it. And if they don't, they don't. But who cares? Either way. Another thing about social media, though, is reading into something. I think we're all guilty of this one. If someone likes a story or reacts to it or replies to it, and it has now become a way for you to determine whether someone likes you or not. And I told you that I deactivated my personal account because of I would see the friends' posts. I have also muted these friends' stories on my business account because they hang out with someone I don't like, and I'd rather not risk seeing it pop up on my feed. So I take the out of sight, out of mind approach and mute their stories. I don't mute their posts, but their stories I do remove from my visual. Overall, social media is extremely dangerous and detrimental to our success and well-being. And don't even get me started on the cyberbullying that goes on online. People are cruel, and the disconnect of being able to hide behind a screen encourages people to speak their mind more freely, which usually comes in the form of a hate comment or some celebrity or influencer getting canceled. I posted on TikTok last year, and it was basically saying, if you live in an apartment, the interaction with your floor can be heard by your downstairs neighbors 10 times louder. And it was essentially a post of like, be more considerate. You don't need to slam your feet. You should learn how to pick it up. You have someone living below you. The comments were awful. And it was filled with people attacking me saying they pay to live there and I should buy a house if I don't want to live in an apartment. And I'm like, whoa, excuse me. First of all, I pay to live there too and am considerate to my downstairs neighbor. And who can buy a house in today's economy as a 20-something who is self-employed and new to the entrepreneurship world? Anyways, that's not the point. The point I'm making is that since my comment section was not passing the vibe check at first, I actually found myself getting pretty upset and had to stop going on the app for a little and then stop reading the comments altogether. People are still commenting on it, and it's been over a year. I also see other people's comments on other videos or stitches, and it's all bullying. I say all the time, thank God I wasn't in high school or college when TikTok came out because I don't think I would have survived. Fortunately for me, there really wasn't much cyberbullying when I was growing up. We were old school and we stuck with the in-person bullying. But, like I said, the most damaging thing social media does to the human brain is destroy our mental health. So, if you suffer with any sort of mental health problems, which is a majority of the population, then it is time to seriously reconsider the role social media plays in your life, your frequency in consuming it, and what you're viewing when you do pop online. The last negative that I want to touch on before I do dive into all the wonderful things social media provides for us is the widespread misinformation. I will say, the conspiracy theories when something major happens is highly entertaining, but there are so many people who come online and spread false information, especially fitness influencers. Those people share what worked for them and believe that everyone should do exactly what they did to get results, and that is just not how it works. There is a girl who came across my feed who claims to be a weight loss coach and is promoting that she lost 12 pounds in the last couple weeks by dropping her calories down to 1,500. And if you listen to any or all the nutrition episodes, then you should know by now to mark this lady as a red flag, as you should not be dropping your calories to that low of an amount. I don't care who you are or how much weight you want to lose. That's not sustainable or healthy, and when done improperly, as in for an extended period of time, will 100% guarantee ruin your metabolism, resulting in you plateauing immediately and or gaining the weight plus more back. There is so much terrible information on social media, and it's on you to do your research and see what is misinformation, or take everything you see on the internet with a grain of salt. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Those get-rich-quick schemes are under the same umbrella too. I know, I just mentioned a ton of terrible qualities about social media, but I swear it does have its benefits as well. And these benefits might be contradicting to the negatives I just mentioned. For example, social media is good for promoting connectivity. Not necessarily in the sense of quality time, but with sharing snippets of your life with people you know and love. I post my albums on Facebook for my grandma to scroll through, or my best friend lives out in California, so what I post she can also see, as we don't see each other often. So it's good for staying in touch with people or being nosy about people from high school. I just texted my friend Kylie from high school about someone else posting about being pregnant, and we both find it wild that people our own age are becoming parents when we are still trying to keep ourselves alive, let alone another human being. But social media is also good for spreading information and awareness, like when that bridge in DC got hit by the cargo ship. We all knew instantly. Or if something is going on in a different part of the world, we will know about it. Or if someone, God forbid, got abducted, we can all keep an eye out for this child and come together as one. It helps the world feel not as large because we know what's going on in places where we don't live the moment something happens, whether that something is good or bad. Social media can be educational. You can learn little hacks for cleaning or shopping. You can learn a new skill or recipes, get outfit inspiration. Podcasts count as a form of social media too, and depending on the one you listen to, it can be very educational, like mine. Mine is a self-help podcast. It's also used for networking with people you typically wouldn't meet. Like during the pandemic, when I was going on month 5 of being unemployed, I saw a notification on my LinkedIn that some lady viewed my profile. So I clicked on who it was, and it turns out she was a senior designer at a firm that was 10 minutes from me. So I messaged her and asked if they happened to be hiring. She responded with yes, and that I should send my resume and portfolio over, and 1 month later, I was working there. You can also follow networking groups in your area and be up to date with what events they are doing for that month. And as an entrepreneur, my Instagram serves as a place for people to get to know me and the work I do a little better so they can either decide to work with me or refer someone to me who needs my help. Social media is also a way to develop community with following like-minded individuals or joining a Facebook group so you feel supported with what you're going through or thinking about or interested in. I will say the most frustrating thing about humans is they join these groups with the intention to make friends or learn something or get help, and then don't act on it at all. Like, I posted about my book club that I started in a Facebook group that was for women in their 20s who live in Charlotte. And I put everyone who commented on that post into a Facebook Messenger group chat. There's about 40 women in this group, and yet no one actually ends up showing up to the book club meeting. Instead, they continue to complain about not having friends or meeting people when the opportunity to have a good conversation with some pretty awesome ladies is right in front of them. So, if you're in a Facebook group or you're trying to build up your own community, go to the damn event and stop self-sabotaging. Ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen by showing up? Worst case, you never see those people again because they sucked. Best case, you make a new friend. Social media is good for creating an online community, but it is far more important to get to the offline and in-person part of the community, especially if you live in a city, because there are always in-person events going on. You just need to do your own research and actually commit to showing up. Anyways, another benefit of social media is the way it is a creativity outlet for a lot of people. It encourages self-expression through pictures, videos, transitions, artwork, singing, writing, sharing a message that you're passionate about, and your personality. I know I have to channel my creative brain when I'm writing an Insta post or creating a podcast like this one or writing to my email list. And it honestly helps me feel good about myself that I'm not losing the creative side of me because I've always had a piece of creativity in my life. It's why I was an interior designer. And now I get to carry it in a different form to my business. The last benefit that I want to touch on is that social media has opened the door to different career opportunities. As I mentioned at the start of this episode, we now have influencers. I personally have friends who are on the social media team for a bank they work at, singers who have gotten their big break from posting songs online businesses who have shops that have been able to make a living by posting about their inventory. Virtual assistants are needed to manage social media accounts for people who have an online business, or even there's like social media managers now. And it's for people who don't have time or the skills or the abilities to tend to that side of their business. If you ask kids today what they want to be when they grow up, some of them will say an influencer. It's crazy how things have shifted and how prominent social media is in our lives. And if you don't have social media or aren't big on it, then you are disconnected from people around you, which is not such a bad thing. I'm honestly a little envious of the people who just detach themselves from social media and never look back. And the people who think of them still or remember to reach out to them are those who matter the most. Social media is part of my business. It's a strategy for people to find me and get to know me, so I will not be removing it. I'm actually being forced, lovingly forced by my business coach to post more on TikTok. So if you see that and you know me, no you don't, but we're trying to expand our reach to people, to help more people, and that is the bigger picture. But I will be the first to admit that I'm addicted to it. And there are ways to minimize the negative effects that social media has on your brain, your life, and the decisions you make, as well as your overall relationship to it, so it doesn't time suck and you can devote that time to something that's more conducive to your goals. Because you can make your social media anything you want it to be. It's a way for you to authentically be yourself. You can download an app that restricts the amount of time you're allowed on a particular app. I have an hour time limit for TikTok every day, so I know that when that hour is up, I have spent a total of 60 minutes on that app, and there's probably something else I can do with my time. And for the record, it's not 60 minutes straight, but spread out throughout the day. And I don't have a timer set for Instagram or Facebook because I'm not as addicted to those platforms. And on that note, you can change your own algorithm to see the healthy side of life. Follow the people you believe in and unfollow the people you don't care about. Stay on the videos a little longer that mean more to you or that you want to see more of, like dogs or healthy recipes. You can also completely delete your accounts or deactivate them and live your life beyond the screen. Basically, set boundaries for yourself around your social media usages. Turn off all notifications from your platforms so it doesn't entice you to open your phone and go right to those apps. And refrain from checking your phone so constantly. Put your phone in another room when you go to bed so you're not tempted to scroll when you're laying in bed. I know I used to be guilty of constantly checking my phone right up until I fell asleep, and then again the second I woke up, and now I charge my phone in the kitchen so it's completely out of sight. Any social media notification that I get can wait until the next day. And that goes for you too. It is not the end of the world if you don't see something the second it comes through. In fact, it is so much healthier for you to wait. Keep your phone across the room from you when you're with company or watching a movie so you can be present with one less distraction. And lastly, please know that the amount of likes that you receive on any given post does not determine your self-worth. I know when I was younger, I would post on Instagram and immediately turn off my phone for 30 minutes because if you didn't have a higher like to minute ratio, then no one cares about you or you're not popular. Luckily, I have grown beyond that point and post for value or information, like I said earlier, and could not care less about the amount of likes I receive. But at the end of the day, social media is both good and bad for our society as a whole. However, you do need to know where the bad parts surface in your life and draw clear boundaries for yourself accordingly. If you have a visceral reaction to a post or close the app and feel worse about yourself or notice your attention span is that of an ant, then you seriously need to reconsider social media's influence on your life. I'm not here to tell you to delete your social media accounts, but I am here to put the potential damages it has on your quality of life and therefore your success and happiness and relationships at the forefront of your mind. Basically, don't be oblivious. I feel like I could go on and on about how social media is influencing us, but I'm going to end here on this note. If something about this episode spoke to you, or you know someone with a horrible social media addiction, then please share this episode. Tag me at coach.jessdiamond if you post it on Instagram so that I can see it and share my love and gratitude. Otherwise, this does conclude another episode of How to 20-something, and I can't wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode.